Hello, welcome to On My Mind, the podcast featuring yours truly, Michael Martinez. So today we have an update instead of a full episode. Usually I kind of ramble on for an hour on my own, or maybe I have a couple of guests on the show and we just, have a good time. But this time it's going to be probably a bit of a shorter episode, and this is just going to be an update. So again, it's not like a full episode. I'm not really going to be talking about much except, about the show itself. And I have quite a bit of information for you guys. So first off, I'd just like to thank everyone who has been listening to the podcast for the past 2 years. Whether you've been here since the beginning or since the start of Volume 2, or even if this is your first episode tuning in, how you doing? So when I started the podcast in April of 2020, that was almost 2 years ago, I was going through a rough period in my life. This show was actually born as an outlet for me to express myself and, keep me busy and, just so I didn't have to think such bad thoughts all the time. I know it was pretty bad. But I mean, hey, now I think I can say confidently that I'm the happiest I've ever been. And I mean, that's due to a lot of reasons, but this show was definitely a significant factor. This show was a way, just thinking back, this was a way for me to stay connected with friends throughout my senior year of high school. Because everything was online, right? So it's like we all felt kind of disconnected as we endured online learning. It was rough. And I don't know, it's like this podcast, it's just like from memories to fun and even sometimes chaotic conversations. Like, On My Mind has become a huge part of my life. And it's been an awesome ride doing this for the past 2 years. And I don't even know how I've done it, but here we are. And I guess recently, as some of you may have noticed, I haven't been uploading episodes consistently, and, episodes are coming out late, or, not even at all, with the Instagram being absent, which is supposed to be my primary way of kind of notifying people. It's like, Instagram story, you'll see an update here and then, but the Instagram has been kind of empty as of late. And to be honest, I don't really have an excuse. I was kind of burning out from doing this every single week. You just have to consider the fact that I run this show entirely on my own and do like 10 million other things outside the show. So it's just like managing my time to include the podcast into my weekly routine is difficult. Like, I thought I had it down, but there's just a lot of variables that I didn't consider when starting Volume 2 of the show back in September. Simply put, I just don't have the same amount of time to focus on the show like I did, back then and during the summer going into my senior year. Just high school in general. Wait, hold on. I know what this is sounding like, but no, I'm not canceling the podcast. No, this show's still going to keep going. Actually, funny thing is, my original plan for doing this show in college, at Bowdoin, was to take a semester-long hiatus. So, how I started Volume 2 last semester in September? That actually was not the original plan, because I was just gonna, feel the semester, see how it goes, and then if I felt like, I could manage the podcast as well as everything else I do, then I'll come back for the new year and then pretty much try to include it in my weekly routine. But after 2 months of not recording anything, we stopped the show in June. I didn't record anything in July or August, and I started to pretty much miss it, and I was like, damn, I really love doing this podcast. And when you take something out of your life like that's been a consistent part every single week, I couldn't help but come back to it. So, I brought the show back about a month into my first semester, and I have been doing it somewhat continuously since then. And damn, dude. Oh, voice crack. Some things just never change. But, I've learned a lot since the first episode, and I figured it's time we make some changes to the show. This is all done to make my life easier and for your listening experience to be a lot better. So I figured I'd let you in on some of the things going on behind the scenes instead of doing a full episode. And after a 5-minute intro, let's jump right into it. Okay, so to start off, we have 3 different sections that I want to talk about. We have structure, we have engagement, and then we have the content itself. So starting with structure, I want to make seasons a thing again. So back then, in case you weren't aware, I used to break up my episodes into seasons. And so how it would work is that, we would start a season and then it would last about 8 to 12 episodes, kind of like a Netflix show. And then we would take a week break where, we didn't record or upload an episode, and this was scheduled every time we had a season finale. We also had a season finale where we kind of saved like our biggest and best episode for the end, for the most part at least. And then it would also give us time to organize a like a really solid season premiere for the next one. So, just having that little break is a lot easier so that I don't burn out, and also just kind of give me a little break from recording and editing episodes. Cause I mean, it's been really tough in volume 2 to like reach out to new people and come out with like new ideas for episodes. It's like I found myself scrambling because I didn't have that week break. And so I would do like last minute scheduling with guests, and that's not good for them, because I would like to let them know ahead of time, being like, hey, I think I like would you be available in the next couple of weeks? And then, make it a lot more structured and just, a lot better and more professional. And the second thing that I want to talk about is a website. I'm probably, no, not even probably, I am, but I'm working on building a website for On My Mind that will pretty much act as like a central hub for everything. So, so it'll have links to all the social media, all the YouTube, and everywhere you can listen it to. It'll have like episode summaries, like in sort of like a little blog kind of thing. I don't know. I have a bunch of ideas for the website because you can do so much with it. And I mean, obviously there'll be like new art for it. I'm not going to be changing the logo or anything, but just kind of being able to do all this. And basically that website is definitely not coming anytime soon, but putting it in the works. It might be up and running maybe in the summer, sometime in the summer. No, I think what's going to happen is I'm going to work on it throughout the whole summer, and then I just want it to be its best as it could possibly be. And then it'll be released when the next semester starts. So, hold me up to that. That's putting a release date for the website in maybe August, September. We'll say fall 2022. Right. And again, there's so much you can do with a website, and I'm obviously not gonna pay for like my own URL, or however that works. I'm probably going to be I'm going to be creating the website on something like Google Sites or Weebly, or, the other tons of website makers out in the world. And so, I'll have to see like which one is best based on what I need and the kind of ideas that I have. So those two things. So seasons are making a comeback, and websites are going to be or a website is planned on being made for this podcast. And I think it'll just be cool. I have the little link tree in my Instagram bio, but that's just kind of like redirecting you to all these different things, whereas this website will be like an official website kind of thing. So I hope you guys are excited about those two things. I don't know why you would be excited about a season being a thing. Well, I just think it'll make it a lot easier to navigate through episodes on Spotify and on YouTube and Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, anywhere where you might be listening to this right now. Right. So the next segment is engagement, and which is pretty much just audience interaction. So I mentioned earlier in the intro that the Instagram has been really absent lately, and I'm planning on making it a lot more, engaging. So, like having posts and having stories with updates and like actual being consistent with it. And I remember way back when, you guys probably already forgot. So this is just kind of on my back right now. Clips. I promised them, like I promised a lot of things for this show, And then I realized, okay, wow, clips take so long to do, because you know how my content is long form content. I mean, we record hour to like an hour and a half. Sometimes we even pass 2 hours of content. And so we have a lot of little funny moments and just a lot of little parts that make it, like, I don't know, that like stand out. And the idea was to take those and then make them into little clips that I can put onto like TikTok or like the Instagram Reels and, you know, YouTube Shorts, things like that. However, I kind of realized I didn't have enough time because it takes a lot of effort to be able to make these. And in order to make them really stand out, like I'd have to also do like the subtitles, because I know that's a strategy that, you know, you could just make it a lot more engaging. And also the fact that we don't record video makes it tough, because it's like, what would I put on the screen? I'm not going to animate the funny moment or anything. You know, there's just a lot of ways you can approach like the little clips and stuff. And I'm just going to say it right now. That is going to be put on hold, or like, nah, we're going to say it's going to be put on hold. I'm probably not going to work on that for a very long time, if at all. I think like I said, it just makes my life easier. And as much as it would be really fun to kind of like have those on Instagram, you know, super bingeable content compared to having to listen to the whole hour-long episode. I'm sorry, I don't have the time for that right now. And also, speaking of social media, it's like I'm also planning on utilizing Twitter. I know Twitter I don't know how many people use Twitter, honestly. I rarely use Twitter, but I mean, I rarely use social media in general. So, yeah, but anyway, Twitter is to make a comeback. I have a Twitter for the podcast, and I think all of my old tweets are still up there. And so I guess what I would do, Twitter would mostly be as a way to like reach new audience members, right? Because it's like you can get random tweets in your feed, which I guess the same thing goes for Instagram, but it might not be as effective. With Twitter, I can send out a tweet and it'll just be like, you know, constant updates of like, here's a new episode, and maybe I'll even drop little teasers of stuff. I don't know, but Twitter is definitely going to be about the same as Instagram, except Instagram is going to be a lot more like visually aesthetic, and then Twitter is just going to be a lot more short form and just to the point kind of thing. Because I think Twitter would be a good way to engage with a completely different audience, you know, maybe get some of the more older audience members, which I mean, like I said, I'm just trying to widen the audience and make better quality, like a better quality experience for the listeners. Right. And so in terms of like better quality content and stuff like that, that kind of segues into our next topic here. Content. Now, this has been a very iffy thing. It's like, or not iffy, but just kind of like I don't know how to approach this kind of thing. Because there's like, what has become an On My Mind episode has been an episode where I have a guest or multiple guests, and we kind of start with like a guest introduction, and it's kind of just like, hey, welcome to On My Mind. Last week we did this week we have these people on, and yeah, now we're just gonna talk about random things for the next hour or two. And so I like that has pretty much become the essence of On My Mind. Like, it's all over the place, you know, it's very scrambled, and it was meant to really reflect on how our minds are, you know, because it's like you could be thinking of something and then all of a sudden your mind just takes you to a totally different thing. Like, you could be doing math homework and then you'll start thinking about what's for lunch. I don't know. So that's kind of like how our episodes were structured. And I guess to kind of reinforce the whole structure, like, I do want to add a lot more structure to the episodes. Yeah, and so kind of like how I did for this episode, where it's like, all right, here's a rundown of 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to hit all of them. Maybe I won't hit them in that order, but it's just kind of like I have to be really good, and I think I kind of am, at just adapting to the conversation, letting side tangents become side tangents, and then eventually finding like an interesting segue back into the main content that I had planned. So that's kind of the plan there with episodes. Just to make it more structured in general. I remember back in the day I used to have like segments, like actual segments, and then I would include YouTube chapters so that if like a particular chapter was interesting to you, you could click on it and then you could listen to that section of the thing. There's a lot of ways I can approach this. Of course, I'm going to be doing this all behind the scenes because there is a lot that goes into this show that you guys probably aren't aware of. Like, no, I don't just come into the studio, record something, export the audio file, and then upload that to YouTube. Like, there's actually a lot more that goes into this. Yeah, and like voice cracks. Yeah, I don't know. It's just there's a lot that I have to like really figure out, and so that's what I'm going to be doing. Right. So with content, some debates. Not debates, but like some propositions / like ideas. What if I did edited down episodes versus like what we've been doing, which are completely raw, except for like some censors of like, you know, some things I had to take out. But for mostly raw and unedited audio. Right. So it's like an edited down episode that's a lot more fast paced, a lot more engaging the whole time versus a full length episode that is, I mean, just the full, like it's literally just one long audio file. Instead of like an edited down version, which, you know, I could take an hour and 20-minute conversation and make it into like a 30-minute conversation where I would be taking out a lot. Or maybe even like 45 would probably be my max for an edited down episode. There's two ways to approach this. I can only have edited down episodes. Obviously it would take a lot more work, like on my end, to actually edit down the episodes, but the difference would be I would record earlier in the week so I would have more time to edit an episode, or I have the edited down episode and then in like an unlisted playlist where if you wanted to listen to the full episode, like click the link, click the YouTube video in the description, and then you can watch the full episode, kind of thing. So it's like I can upload just edited down episodes and then have full length episodes as like an optional kind of thing. Or, well, I mean, I guess they would both be optional, but I mean, I kind of want to experiment with how an edited down episode would sound like, because I would have full control of what is said. Like, keep that in mind. So it's like if my guests say something funny, like I'm gonna highlight that. Or if we hit like a really interesting conversation versus like if we just talked about what we had for breakfast that day. You know what I mean? Like some things like don't all have to be included. And so, you know, that would also require me to really be in communication with my guests. Be like, would you be okay if I took this out? I don't know if like you really wanted to say that, or you know what I mean. So there's that, and I think it would also drive up kind of like viewership, because I mean, people tend to really want shorter videos these days. I mean, think about like TikToks and just. Wow, my voice is dude, I'm shot. All right, just a little bit of context. I've been working on a computer science project for like the past week. Like today's Friday. I'm recording this on Friday. April Fool's Day, by the way. That wasn't a joke. But I lost my train of thought. No, I was working on a project for the past week. And it's a collaborative project, so I was working with someone else, and you know, obviously you have to be talking and communicating and making sure you explain to each other what our program is doing so that it makes sense to both of us. And then we had to get help and explain our code to them, and so that I've been doing a ton of talking in the past couple of days, and it's the end of the week. My voice is shot. After this, I'm going to be going to class where we're going to have a debate, and I'm going to be doing a lot of talking there. So, excuse my voice for, you know, cracking every 30 seconds. And, but also isn't that like always been a thing? But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I got a little self-conscious there. But, yeah, so going back to the edited down conversation, yeah, I just think people want shorter videos, and so I can do that. I mean, I could definitely do that. And then some people, if you prefer full length episodes, they'll also be available. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of the plan with content. And then I remember making the promise of video recorded episodes where, you know, you actually get to see my face instead of just my logo on the screen. Obviously on YouTube. However, I did get a notification from Anchor, which is like my podcast hosting site. It's like a sub company of Spotify. But anyway, like I got access to video podcast on Spotify, which means if you were to click one of my episodes on Spotify, it would actually play a video. So that means video podcast would be available for both Spotify and like YouTube. But then it's like, do I want to go forward with video recorded episodes where, you know, like we would have to use a camera, the files would be a lot bigger, and I mean it would just the setup would also take a lot longer, and I mean the setup is kind of long already, not gonna lie, having to set up everything before we hit that record button. So there's just a lot to kind of consider. Like the thing is that this is a shared space. Booking a room and scheduling has been my main enemy in recording these episodes, because, you know, I'll be like, all right, 12:30 on Friday, I'm gonna come into the studio and I'm gonna record, and then I try to book the room, the studio, and it's already taken by another one, which, you know, I get that other people have podcasts and I'm not the only one in the world, but it does become kind of frustrating when it's like, this is literally the only time I have to record this and I can't. So yeah, that has been a huge thing. And so every single time I come into the studio, obviously everything has kind of been reset or like changed. And it does take a while before I like actually sit down and say, all right, let's get started. Welcome to On My Mind, the podcast. And so including the camera and all that, I'm gonna keep it real. To make my life a lot easier, I honestly don't think video is necessary. I mean, this show has always been an audio only podcast, so it's not like we'd be missing out on anything, really. Like the only video you guys have ever gotten was when I did that intro saying, we have video now. We didn't. I never like configured everything to make sure that, yeah, we can do this. And that studio is not built for video editing, or not video editing, but like video recording. Because like it has a camera behind the monitor, which is like off to the side, so it's a really bad angle. So I'd have to move the camera, or I'd have to get permission to move the camera. The point is, it's very inconvenient to do video recordings, and so as of now, I think we're going to stay audio only for, I mean, the rest of, or until I can really solidify and get like video recordings like an option, for that to be an option. Right. And so that's essentially it. That's kind of my update. I do have, like, I don't know if I want to tease this, but let's just say that I did not share everything. I mean, why would I share everything? Like, I got to keep some things to myself just in case they don't actually happen, or, you know, just to make it have that surprise factor. So I've, like I said, I took spring break to really take a break, and so I didn't really get to like cook up some ideas, but immediately after spring break I came back and I was like, you know what, Michael, we really gotta like get a grip on this thing. Like, you are a podcast host, act like it. And I really like dove in. I think I stayed up, or I didn't like stay up that late, but I did like stay up one night and I dedicated the whole night to just planning for the podcast. See, because my whole thing is that like I don't have time, and I mean, I'm never gonna have time if I kind of prioritize everything else over the show. So I really said, you know what, let's dedicate time to the podcast, and it really helped out. So I'm probably gonna have a few of those kind of like just dedicated nights to planning and, you know, coming up with ideas for this show. Like maybe once every 2 weeks or something. Yeah. So just to kind of like sum up, seasons are making a comeback, and there's an On My Mind website set to release this fall. I'm going to be a lot more engaging with the Instagram and with the Twitter, and the episodes are probably, I'm going to experiment. Like, I'm going to do an edited down episode for the next episode 20, not this one, the next one. And I'm going to see if I like how it comes out. And if I don't, then we'll just keep doing full length episodes like we have. So like, even though I will make a edited down version, it might not be released. Keep that in mind. So, we'll figure that out. And then also we're gonna stay audio only. And unfortunately, I don't think I can do video at the moment. And then I guess before I wrap things up here, just kind of say that this summer is gonna be a very experimental period. Right now I'm very busy with school, and then over the summer I'm gonna be. I have a feeling I'm gonna be relatively busy too, but I'll have definitely a lot more time to dedicate to this show. So yes, I hope you guys are looking forward to some of the new stuff. And of course this sounds like a lot of work, and let me tell you guys, it is. However, I love doing this. It is like the fact that I just have so much liberty and freedom to control everything on my own. It's awesome. It's like I really get to cater this podcast not just for you guys, but like really make it so it's like my creation, my podcast, because everyone these days has a podcast. So it's become essential to really identify yourself and be like, this is what I do, because I do what like 10,000 other podcasts out there do, and I want to be able to basically say, why would you listen to me over them, kind of thing. I know, very dramatic, but it's the truth. So yeah. Also, I guess I will tease this. I'm not gonna say much more. I'm trying to plan this. What would I say? Okay, here's the teaser. On My Mind, the podcast, may or may not become like there might be a team behind the shows running, not just me. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Later.